All right, so interesting thing here. I think I figured out a new code word. The word Duke, or just Duke in general. So Enter the Stars had a video about um, Roscoe on the Dukes of Hazzard dying at age 88. So there was the Dukes of Hazzard, and he died of pneumonia in the 88th episode. They talk about dying from pneumonia, but Duke also won the NCAA Final Four tournament this year. And then Zachary K. Hubbard has did a bunch of videos on Duke and the '88. Duke also there's Duke adds up to 41 and 14, but he did a deal on Duke, and like it was, I don't even remember it all. Like it was Coach K's 88th postseason tournament win. He was born on the first day of Lupercalia. I mean, I can't even remember it all. You can go check out both of these channels and check out these videos, and it explains it a lot more in depth. I didn't write it all down, but anyway, so that was the same day. So that guy dies. The Dukes of Hazzard guy dies the same day. Duke wins the national championship. And what's interesting is that I just made videos about the Lauryn Hill girl with cancer, and the school that she played at. The motto was Deo Duce, and Duce actually means Duke. Yeah, just this is the school right here, Mount St. Joseph University. Motto is Deo Duce, which Duce is Duke. And right here, it just even shows you that Duce is actually it's derived from Latin, and basically it means Duke. And then they show Benito Mussolini, who was actually called Tu Duce. And I talked about the Time magazine guy, how they call his name is Henry Luce, and his nickname was Tu Luce, and it was a play on words of Benito Mussolini. But what led me to this was because he's the creator of Time magazine, and I was doing research on Kurt Cobain because they keep putting Kurt Cobain in the news all the time with the new documentary they have about him coming out. Even today they had an article about Francis Bean wearing, I don't even remember, Francis Bean was dressed goth for the premiere or something of the movie. But this guy, Eldon Hokie, they call him El Duce. He actually died 2 days after a documentary called Kurt and Courtney, and he said that Alan killed Kurt, and Courtney actually offered him $50,000 to kill him, and then he said Alan killed him, and they said, oh, well, never mind, we'll let the FBI figure it out. And then this guy played at a bar called Alan's Bar, and then the next day, that night, he died, and there was no witnesses. So kind of weird, but his name was El Duce, so Duke. So that's like 5 Dukes within a span of a week. So enough of the rambling. Basically what I did was I just looked up a bunch of Duke stuff to see if there was anything significant, and just see what to maybe watch for or look for in news articles and whatnot, to see if they start throwing this code word in there all the time. So no idea why. The first thing I thought of was the Duke of Earl. It just, I don't know, when I think of Duke, that just rings in my head, I guess. So it's a song by Gene Chandler, but he actually calls himself the Duke of Earl. And the song is 2 minutes and 23 seconds long, so 322 backwards. It's on VJ Records, so like V and J, we 32, 20, 22, and 10, 32, VJ. But anyway, Gene Chandler, he was born in 1937 on 7/6, and he is 77 years old, from Chicago. It also says that this song, it says during 1988, Duke of Earl was included on the soundtrack of Hairspray. And then during 2002, so 22, Duke of Earl was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. And then Groove Master K and 88 Keys sampled Chandler's win your #1 for their song Frisco Drisco. So kind of interesting that they took that guy's song, um, a different song, but it's the group 88 Keys, and it's called Frisco Disco, which, I don't know, when I think of Frisco, I think of San Francisco. Anyway, the 88 movie Hairspray, it says it came out, the premiere, and then I guess February 26th, so the first day of Lupercalia, after the premiere at least. But it stars Ricky Lake. I don't think I've seen much with her. Divine in his final role. Born in 1945, died in 1988 on 3/7. It was his last performance in a movie, and also died of an enlarged heart. They even show you the film ranks number 444 on Empire Magazine's 2008 list of 500 greatest movies, so 444. The movie also has Sonny Bono in it, which I don't know if I ever made a video about him. I had planned on it, but he was the mayor, the 44th congressman for California's 44th district from 1994 until he died. And so there's the mirror of 49. It also died in 1998, which is 49 plus 49. Also had Jerry Stiller in it. I talked about he's going to be 88 this year, and I didn't really mention it that well, but there was something to do with Robin Williams and Joan Rivers in the movie The Night at the Museum or whatever. He's also the dad on the King of Queens, which the Kevin James guy. He's in a movie. I can't even remember what it's called. Hold on. It's this movie right here called Barnyard, and Kevin James is the main character. The movie came out on August 4th, Obama's birthday. Let's see here. Kevin James is Otis, but there's a dog named Duke, and it's voiced by this guy, who was born on November 18th and talked about that day multiple times. This movie also came out on Obama's 45th birthday. I forgot to mention that. Kevin James is 49 years old this year. His dad is Joseph Valentine Knifing Jr. He owns an insurance company. He has a brother, Gary Joseph Knifing, known as Gary Valentine. Just found that kind of weird. 49. I've been talking about Valentine, and then his family uses Valentine. He's born. He was 2 when JFK got shot. Back to Hairspray here. The movie actually, if you read down here, it says it opened on February 26th, so first day of Lupercalia in 1988, in 79 North American theaters, so 79, 22nd prime number. It grossed whatever that number is. On its opening weekend, on March 11th, it expanded to 227 theaters, where it grossed that much, whatever. But why 79 theaters to 227 and 227? Is Valentine's on the Julian calendar, all kinds of stuff. Basically just typed in Duke and just went through a bunch of them and read about him. Duke McKenzie was a famous retired boxer. Born on May 5th, which is 5/5. May 5th is the only day that adds up to 88. All kinds of stuff with May 5th I've talked about in the past. In 1963, same year, Michael Jordan was born. It says both titles were relinquished when McKenzie won the IBF flyweight title on October 5th, 1988, with an 11th round knockout over Rolando Bohol. So 88, 11. This is actually technically would be the last day of the Julian calendar, but it would be the next day. But when they switched it, it was October 4th is when they switched it. That's what I'm getting at. Anyway, this guy right here that he beat is 49 years old, born on Christmas Day. It says Duke Warren. He was born in 1888, so 88, died in 33. He appeared in 27 films. Um, died age 44. Then you had Uncle Duke from Doonesbury. And this one was pretty interesting. The character was actually based on Hunter S. Thompson's character, Raoul Duke. And actually, Hunter S. Thompson hated this guy for doing it. But Hunter S. Thompson, whatnot, I talked about with Rolling Stone and Time Magazine before. So let's check out Raoul Duke. Basically, what I get out of it is Raoul Duke is like basically like Hunter S. Thompson's kind of like he portrays himself kind of as this guy in a lot of his writings. He's even like in the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It's actually this Raoul Duke and not Hunter S. Thompson. But it says Duke is first mentioned by Thompson in his 1966 book Hell's Angels. So 1966 is 49 years ago. And basically, in order to write this book about the Hell's Angels, he went and lived with in close quarters with the Hell's Angels in the San Francisco and Oakland chapters. I mean, and it says he hung out with the president, Ralphie Sonny Barger, most. And this guy was born on October 8th, 8/8. Raul Duke actually came from a mixture of Raul Castro and John Wayne's nickname the Duke. So John Wayne was nicknamed the Duke. Pretty interesting. I think he's from Iowa too. Yeah, Winterset, Iowa. But if you read through here, well, as I'm scrolling down here, I see that he is a member of the Order of Demolay, a youth organized association with the Freemasons. So go figure. That's why he's a movie star. It even says on his filmography here from 1926 to 1976, which also includes those films that Wayne only produced and results pertaining to his long-running box office popularity between 1949 and 1973. During the height of his career after a decade of starring in a succession of low-budget B movies. So basically, he wasn't popular until 1949 to 1973. Both numbers we've talked about. I mean, why they even put that in here, who knows? They want you to see these numbers. Anyway, Raoul Duke, he was only portrayed in 3 films, and that was Where the Buffalo Roam, who, of course, he's portrayed by Bill Murray. And talked about him tons of times. Don't know why I just clicked on it. I'm not going to go into it. And then in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, portrayed by Johnny Depp. And then the movie Rango. I actually hated that movie, thought it was terrible, but he was voiced by Johnny Depp. It says the movie was released on March 4th, 2011, but it was actually premiered on Valentine's Day, 2011. Thought that was pretty interesting. So maybe rewatch that movie, even though I don't want to. I didn't see that much with Raul Castro, but Fidel Castro, I remembered that he's 88 years old right now. He'll be 89 in August this year, but he is 88 years old. Duke is the name of Rocky Balboa's trainer, and the guy who plays him is Tony Burton, and he was born in 1937. He was also in all kinds of movies like The Shining. I talked about Hook. Who knows, Exorcism. But I'm going to move on here. Also, you have Duke Nukem, the video game character, which not really much, didn't really look that much into it. But, I mean, just the name in general, Nukem. I mean, and then if they're using the keyword Duke and then Nukem, who knows? I don't know what. I mean, that could mean a lot of things. But Duke is also the protagonist in the novel by Hal Ellison. This book came out in 1949, and the guy who wrote it died on October 31st, which is 88 days after Obama's birthday, by the way. But in 1994, The Mirror of 49. You had the Duke TV miniseries that came out in 1954, 54's Love. I believe the main character died during Lupercalia. Then you got this mini series that was from 1979. I talked about the 22 with that. The show started on April 5th, 4/5/45. It also follows an aging boxer who becomes a private investigator, a PI. There's a 1999, I think it's Disney movie here, called The Duke, and it's 88 minutes long. It's just about a dog named Duke, I guess. Then there's a British short film directed by John McCarty, who was born in 1949 on August 16th, which that day is always significant. I think Elvis died that day. There's all kinds of stuff with that day. It was in 1998, so 49 and 49. 17 minutes long. 1917 was 98 years ago. It's about a young boy who believes that his grandfather is John Wayne. Then, of course, you got the Dukes of Hazzard stuff. James Madison Dukes, which is kind of interesting because on the Zachary K. Hubbard video I talked about, he talks about James Madison being obsessed with the number 118, which is 1188, and then the Dukes or whatever. And so they're actually named after Samuel Page Duke. And it says that he was the second president of James Madison University, serving from 1919 to 1949. Also thought of, I just talked about this movie with Kurt Cobain and whatnot because it came out on the same day he was born. But the Jacob kid in the movie, who's in like Sex Drive and can't even think of the other movies. He's in a few other movies that I know of. But his real name is actually Clark Duke. And he was born on May 5th, 5/5. Like I said, I've talked about that number multiple times. Anyway, it would just take too long to go through. I'm just basically showing you how I research and whatnot. But I really think Duke, they're going to start using it. Interesting, too, that Duke means like leader. And on the movie Castaway, I talked about where he was on the FedEx. FedEx 88 is the name of the plane. And he goes to, they're going to Malaysia, and then the flight gets lost. But right before they crash, the pilot or somebody says, FedEx 88 to wherever, and then he says, Eric is next. Eric is next. And since Duke means leader, whatever, I remember that for whatever the reason. And when they say Eric is next, and the meaning of the name Eric is actually one ruler, autocrat, eternal ruler, ever powerful, warrior, government. So, I don't know. I mean, Eric is next. Does that mean like a one world government, one ruler, one, I don't know. Pretty weird. And then if Duke is a code word, which means leader as well. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just going to keep looking for it. I'm just kind of showing other people a code word that I found. Or I guess not just necessarily me finding, but a group thing effort here, I guess. Even so, the other day at work, I was just thinking of stuff with, Valentine type themes and sports and whatever. And you have the Rose Bowl. And let's check that out. The Rose Bowl even has ties to Duke, which was crazy. I guess during the World War or whatever, they didn't want to play it at the Rose Bowl because they thought that it was on the West Coast and the Japanese might do something or whatever because there'd be so many people there. So they actually played it in Duke Stadium in Durham, North Carolina. And Duke actually was playing in that game. So I find it kind of weird they would move it to a place where, not a neutral location or whatever. You think they would have moved it to like just a different, like Florida or somewhere else. They played Oregon State, so you wouldn't think they would have moved it to Oregon or Duke. But anyway, Duke was favored by 14. They ended up losing by 4 says that the player of the game was Donald Durden, DD, 44. But interesting, he went on and played, it says, in the NFL for 1 year at least, with the 49ers. I mean, they even write just kind of weird stuff in here, like Oregon State's Gene Gray, GG, 77, flew more than 30 bombing missions over Germany. His plane crashed, took a flame out in the jungles of Panama. He later likened his body to burnt steak. He had severe burns all over his body, and both of his arms had to be amputated. Gray, whose arms hauled in the touchdown catch, which proved the deciding margin, wound up with no arms at all. I mean, it's just, interesting fact, but kind of messed up they'd even write that in there. Almost like you're supposed to know this guy doesn't have arms for whatever the reason. And then so the stadium is called Wallace Wade Stadium now, but you just scroll down and read a little of the history, but they talk about the concerts that have played here. And they only list two, and they say the Grateful Dead, which I talked about, that's San Francisco. And then also the 114th day of the year, so 44. And the Rolling Stones in the Rolling Stone magazine, San Francisco, but it was on October 8th, 8/8. I mean, it's just kind of weird. Anyway, about the Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl is actually the oldest bowl game. First played in 1902, and then has been played annually since 1916. Since 1945, it has been the highest attended college football bowl game. The Rose Bowl is part of the Tournament of Roses, America's New Year celebration, because it's usually played on January 1st. It says 14 times it's been played on January 2nd. But it also includes the Tournament of Roses parade. And then I was looking at the grand marshals of the parade, and what do you know? Earl Warren, the guy I talked about earlier with the Warren Commission and all that, he was one of them. He was it again in 1955. Herbert Hoover H.H. was a 1945 one. You can't click on the 49 guy, so Perry Brown. But also, John Wayne was the 1973 one. I thought that was pretty crazy. And then Walt Disney was the one 49 years ago, and Walt Disney actually ended up dying later that year, so it will be 49 years ago this year that Walt Disney died. The guy in 1988, he was born on 4/5. Angela Lansbury was even one of them. Then 94, the Mirror of 49, William Shatner was one of them. He was just in the news about not going to Spock's funeral on 2/27, the Pi Day, the Valentine's on Julian calendar. He's born on 3/22. Somebody, Rita 511 just sent me an article about Kermit the Frog, and San Francisco is known as the greenest city in the United States, and because I talked about green, and I've seen Kermit the Frog like probably 5 times tonight alone. It's just so weird. This was the guy from last year. I felt like I talked about him in something else, but he was with the Dodgers for 66 seasons, and he will be 88 this year. And then the guy that was supposed to be this year actually died. They announced him to do it, and then he died before he could do it. But they just had his family do it instead. And they announced it on May 9th, and then he died 54 days later. So Love, 54, that's when he died. So pretty interesting. So the Rose Bowl, the game, it was actually called the Tournament East-West Football Game until the Rose Bowl was actually built for the 1923 game. But the first Rose Bowl, let's check that out. It was Michigan won the first Rose Bowl 49-0. The MVP died on the 22nd day of the year, born on November 10th, 1879, 22. So he died on the 22nd day of the year. He was born in 79, which is your 22. Also, November 10th, I've talked about that multiple times. So this year, or last year, whatever you want to consider it, 2015, Oregon defeated Florida State 59-20, ending the Seminoles' 29-game winning streak, which is whatever. But it says here, Oregon advances to the national championship to be played on January 12th. The 59 points are a new Rose Bowl scoring record for a team breaking old mark of 49 points set by Michigan Wolverines. So last year they broke the record of from the very first ever Rose Bowl. Oh well, just gonna leave it at that. This video is already long enough. Just wanted to point out some Duke things, and I know the Rose Bowl I had more. I looked it up at work, and I didn't write any of it down, and I'm getting tired, so I don't want to sit here and keep researching at this moment. So anyway, I just wanted to point out the Duke reference to it. So anyway, have a great night.